The Supreme Court has screwed over the American people in a variety of ways today, but let's begin with the one that you're probably most interested in, the 1512 charge. So the Supreme Court narrowed the scope of what can be charged under 1512. Now, to be clear, that means J6ers can still possibly be charged under the 1512 charge if the lower court can find enough evidence to meet the narrower scope. And I wouldn't be surprised if some of them are charged under that narrower scope as well. But how many people only had 1512 as their only felony? If you've listened to things like pro J6 content, you might think it's going to be a massive amount. It's roughly 6% of J6ers had that be their only felony. Now, if you listen to J6 content, you might think, well, a lot of them only pled guilty to 1512. The number is actually 48. And if any of the plea agreements involve 1512, and of course, let's say the government decides that they can't meet the more strict interpretation and it gets dropped, those people can be resentenced because the plea agreement is, one of the stipulations is that the charges stay the same. Will the DOJ do this? Well, we don't know, but we do know in a previous case that at least one case, the DOJ said that if 1512 is overturned, they plan to go back and change sentencing amounts for other charges to match the same amount of years, so it's a wash. But we don't know how many cases that will actually be because the DOJ hasn't taken any action like that yet, as far as I'm aware. They haven't told any J6ers or charges are being dropped or not. Some are celebrating that they've been dropped, but maybe they fall under that, more narrow interpretation. Time will tell. Now, you might be wondering, well, how many J6ers in prison are going to have their term shortened? About 30, maybe? That would be the ones, in my opinion, that might have the biggest win that the DOJ might not go back after. 30? Big win for them. And, let me see if I can find the statement from the Justice Department. I just had it. Oh, here's Merrick Garland. The vast majority of the more than 1,400 defendants charged for their illegal action on January 6 will not be affected by this decision. There are no cases in which the department charged a January 6 defendant only with the offense at issue in Fischer. For the cases affected by today's decision, the department will take appropriate steps to comply with the court's ruling. So, yeah, it's all going to be about, are they willing to recharge under, like, the new strict statute? And I'm sure at least a few will. We'll see, though. We'll see. But there were other rulings today to screw over the American people. For example, 6-3. Cities can arrest people for being homeless out and sleeping outside. They've made it illegal to be homeless, even if the city doesn't even have shelters for them. So you're going to see it be illegal to be homeless in places that have no alternative if you lose your home, which is, there you go there. The Supreme Court has also ruled to overturn the Chevron doctrine. Yeah, so, basically everything regulating public health and safety, it's gone for the last 40 years. The America is in a worse position than the last 40 years when it comes to pollution and food safety. And now it means that a corporation can just do some judge shopping to, poison you. Amazing. Now, Monday is set to be the presidential immunity case. This is where we find out if Joe Biden can legally kill his political opponents, declare himself president for life, give full power over to, let's say, his son, all that. Break any law he wishes because he's the current president. That'll be Monday. Conservatives are really celebrating the idea of giving Joe Biden that much power. I'm not sure why, but they are. But yeah, it's going to be really interesting with 1512 specifically, because there are some J6ers that I can think of off the top of my head that have admitted on video knowingly doing J6 in an attempt to obstruct the official proceeding. Are they going to have their charges dropped? We're going to see. I get the feeling that basically any J6er who's currently awaiting trial, I wouldn't want to be them if I had 1512 right now, because there's a decent chance that the DOJ superseding indictments make sure that they hit them with enough that it ends up being the same amount of time in jail. The ones that are probably going to actually benefit are going to be those like 30 that are in jail. It's their longest sentence, and they might get out early. But with that being said, they could still do different things and not end up actually helping them as much as they think. A lot of J6ers are calling it a massive win, but I've also noticed a lot of J6ers not really commenting on it that I thought would, and I wonder if it's because they don't think it actually affects them when it, you know, maybe they talk to their lawyer all excited. Most of the ones I see celebrating are the ones I see like spreading the most misinformation, and it seems very preemptive. Most of it doesn't feel like they've spoken to the lawyer to find out how it will affect their case or how it might affect their case, things like that. But we'll see. We'll see. I don't think they're exactly going to be going free. And of course, a lot of them just aren't charged with 1512. After this was going to the Supreme Court, the DOJ just did other charges, which they can do, you know, to the other defendants too. So it's really about will the DOJ, DOJ willing to put in the money, basically. We also have a statement from President Biden's spokesperson. Violent insurrectionists and those who encourage them must be held accountable, but Donald Trump thinks otherwise. Just last night, Trump again defended January 6th and the insurrectionists who violently assaulted law enforcement officers and tried to prevent the peaceful transfer of power. Today's ruling does not change the fundamental truth that Donald Trump will always put himself over democracy. I get a lot of J6ers appearing in my like For You page on Twitter, unsurprisingly. DOJ sets Wednesday deadline for lawyers in Jan 6 case of Guy Reffitt. Ooh. There we go. That's the first big one that's going to be meeting. No. And of course, you might be thinking, well, is Guy Reffitt going to get out? Well, the big issue for Guy Reffitt is, from my understanding, on top of the J6 charges, there's also gun charges in Texas. So I would assume no. I don't know exactly how many I don't see it here. I was gonna see how much he's got real quick live for 1512 versus other charges. I do have the justice.gov page where it says Reffitt also told his family what he had done and threatened his teenage children to prevent them from reporting him to law enforcement. Yeah, so that's going to be the big talk is going to be the Guy Reffitt stuff on like the corner and whatever. We're going to have to see how it all shakes out, but yeah, that's 1512. It's not as big and exciting as a lot of J6ers seem to think it. Well, they've been saying it will be, but that being said, it's definitely going to affect some cases, and it's going to depend on what the DOJ wants to do. DOJ under Biden, going to their own devices, I assume is still going to go after all of them to the full extent of the law. Trump wins. DOJ under him, if he removes all the people that aren't loyalists, maybe not, right?